Tonight, we're going to do Maximum Carnage, AEW Dynamite breakdown.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wrestling fans, and sports entertainment fans, welcome to the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
And I am Jay Tilley. And tonight, we're going to do a Maximum Carnage AEW Dynamite breakdown / reactions. Going to talk a little bit about the show, and we're going to talk about some of the matches and what we liked and didn't like. Pretty much give you guys a rundown on our opinions and what we got out of the show. So let's start with the Kenny Omega Brian Cage match, man. What? I'll let you go first on this one. What did you? Because I'm a Kenny mark. He's in my top 5.
Yeah,
he has been for years. I want to know your opinion on this match, and then I'll kind of give you my opinion.
So I'm a huge fan of Cage. Him being a Lucha Underground alum. I don't know that he has been used in a big man way. He was able to get some power moves. I don't know him and Hawk, the Murder Hawk, being, teamed up as, part of a family or faction. I thought the match was really good. And, Kenny was selling. And, you saw on WWE how Gable was selling. And then at the end of the match, he stopped selling. But you didn't get any of that. And I thought it was fantastic. The pacing of the match, the registering, and the crowd was kind of in and out to begin with. And, but you knew the whole time that they were behind Omega, and then the end. I thought it was really cool. I really want to hear what you thought about who came out to aid a hand and where that story is going to develop, because eventually everything is going to come to a head. Is it going to involve the Continental Classic? Is it going to involve the TNT title? Is it going to involve no titles? AEW is not going to do a hair versus hair or loser leave town match. There's going to be something, no kidding, at stake. So I'm all ears, man.
Yeah. So a couple things you mentioned that I wanted to hit. You said the crowd. I'm thinking it might have been a TV audio problem, because a lot of the things I've heard from people that were live, and you look at Twitter and everything, and I know that's like a narrowed universe, but a lot of the reactions said it was loud and popping and very energetic, which I agree. At first, I'm like, they're kind of here, they're kind of not. For a Kenny Omega match, you'd figure they'd all be up. But from what I understand, it was really good. You talked about the selling. Well, that's one of my things about Kenny, man. Like, he'll sell to the end of the match. He'll sell into the next match. He'll sell into it 3 weeks from now. Like, he's really good at that prolonged storytelling in the ring. As far as his first match back, I thought it was a good, not great Kenny Omega return match. I felt like it was. Here's the thing about Omega, right? I have a feeling this was on purpose, but it felt like a guy who was just now getting back into the business of the ring and had to learn the paces again. And that's kind of what the match felt like. And then in my head, I'm going, but does he want me to think that? Like, or is he really still a little rusty? But then I know, watching the New Japan match, like, no, this dude's not rusty. Like, holy shit. Like, we know what he can do. So it was one of those, like, I'm like, because I felt like it was just going through the motions. There were some really good spots. The power bomb from the outside of the ring into the ring from Brian Cage. The way he struggled to get him up and hit the one-winged angel. Like, classic Kenny stuff. But at the same time, there was just something off. And maybe it's the booking part of it. Like, maybe it's the storyline. Maybe I would have preferred it more if this was a different wrestler that came in and had a decent back and forth with him and hit him in the ribs. And now suddenly the diverticulitis is acting, and then they had the post-match attack. But that was my only thing. I thought it was a good, not great match, but it had Kenny in it, right? Like, it was him selling him. Whoo, this hurts. And then you mentioned the after part where they get attacked, and who comes to make or he gets attacked, who comes to make the save, but his biggest nemesis for years in Will Ospreay, and woo, did I pop
Oh yeah.
because you said I wonder what it's going to go through, man. Like my fantasy book in. Here's what I think they're going to do. I think you're going to see Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega versus Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher at Grand Slam. I think that's going to be your big card event to draw people to that arena to see that show. And then one of the things we'll talk about later, the women's match too. But I think that's a key match that's going to make people go, "Oh my gosh, I want to see this."
Yeah.
But then what do you do from there, right? Like then is it going to be? Are they going to get along? Are they not going to get along? Are we going to see Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega split and start a feud? Are we going to see Kenny? Hey, thank you. Now I'm going after Okada for this title. Will Ospreay says, "Wait, I want that title." Maybe we get a 3-way at All In with Okada, Ospreay, and Kenny Omega, which is
Dude.
any wrestling fan's wet dream.
Yeah.
Just throw Daniel Bryanson in it too, and now you had a fatal 4-way. Like, come on.
Yeah,
It's just,
he was backstage too at the for the event and all the speculation and whatever. But
yep.
you had mentioned how you felt about the Osprey piece, and me being a big Lucha Underground fan, I was like, okay, so you talk about Osprey being a little bit, or not Osprey, but Omega being a little bit rusty. And you're like, wait a minute, hold on, and so he nails the first knee off
Mm-hmm.
to the shoulder. And I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
hmm. And then he goes back and he sells a little bit and then he nails it. And I was like, okay. Then when he gets him on the ropes and commentary, they did such a great job selling and telling that, I mean, they should get Pulitzer Prize awards for that. And like you felt like you were there. And, when we were at World's End and we're sitting there watching, you know, a match that we just saw in the Tokyo Dome.
Yep.
I'm like, what, like you said, wrestling fans' wet dream. Like, everybody's got their Rushmores and everybody has their bucket lists and stuff. We were joking around when we went to Chicago to see the original, the first event that we went and saw, and just the awesome
Forbidden Door.
the Forbidden Door, right?
Yep.
And we're sitting there, and I'm like, dude, this is like the wrestling road trip,
Yeah.
and we're sitting there in Little Orlando at UCF Stadium at the Edition Arena, and dude,
Yep.
to see what AEW is putting together, and to hear and read some of the stuff in the media, I don't have time for it. You can be
Yep.
whatever wrestling fan, every wrestling fan. Great match. Very, very pleased to see Kenny Omega back in the ring. And like you said, now we've got the two of them back together in the,
Yep.
I don't want to say faction. I think they'll get along to a certain extent, but that roster is big enough to keep them away from each other for a little while.
Right.
But there'll be something where this interaction will come back up. Well, I was there for you when you needed whatever. I didn't ask you to come help me, and then pop. So
Yep.
it'll, so good stuff, man. Good deal.
It's Kenny Omega being back, I think is great. And I'm pretty sure it was Thunder Rosa recently said something about he's like the spirit of AEW on a quote or something. And I agree. Like him being back already made me feel like, yes, he's back, So
yeah,
glad to see that. Speaking of spirits of AEW, let's go right into Chris Jericho's New York Minute. That happened. I don't know, man. I don't want to say tired of Jericho because I appreciate everything he does, but I'm just not into this learning tree storyline at all. And I know it's a parody, and I know he's trying to make fun of it, but
yeah,
and then he makes the announcement that they're teaming up with the Death Riders for the 12-man match. I don't care. Like it's not going to make me turn into Collision. What's going to make me turn into Collision is an announcement that comes later, which is the Okada Ishii match. That I will turn into Collision to watch all day long.
all
But this
day.
was just like,
Yeah,
okay, like it underlines one of my major issues I think with AEW right now, which I think they're going to try to work through, is I'm just not into the world title scene. I'm not a big, don't really care about the Death Riders. Like I love Moxley in that, but just this whole storyline and Edge now. Is he really going to be the one to take it? Because I don't think it should be. I think it should be like
No.
Darby Allin or Ricky Starks. They've brought him back. Somebody who is an AEW original
Yeah.
should take it, not another WWE guy. And I know that's an internet hot take, and I hate saying it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like I'm not emotionally invested in it like I should be. I was when Orange Cassidy and Hangman and Jay White were going after. I'm like, all right, this is
Yeah.
cool. But now it's kind of gotten muddled with FTR and I don't know the Jericho stuff. I was like, whatever. But
Yeah.
what did you think about the New York Minute?
So the New York Minute, hi guys. Me being
Hi
from New
guys.
York, I kind of take offense to it. No, I'm kidding. What I'm getting out of it is more so you're seeing more character from the Redwood, and
Yes,
that the match that he had where he was dancing around and some of that personality was coming out, and you didn't get to see that in the WWE when he was 7 feet tall, and you can't teach
can't
that.
teach that.
And then the bad apple, the bad apple, that 12
That
my
was pretty
button,
funny.
like, dude. And then Jericho's just like,
Yeah,
so I mean, I am enjoying the Jericho stuff, not for Jericho, but I feel like he's bringing those characters up to a new level. And
mm,
if you could somehow get something where Big Bill is supposed to be his enforcer in a four-way dance, um, and he inadvertently, and I know NXT just recently did it with the Heritage Cup, and Regal hits old boy, and he falls down and ends up winning the Heritage Cup. But something along those lines where it's a sketchy finish, and now Big Bill's standing there as the world champion, and Jericho's like, "Wait a minute,"
yeah.
But the cries for Jericho to retire, I'm a mixed bag on that. He's earned the opportunity to go out on his own, on his, the way he wants to go out. But
Yep.
I think at some point, you need to be saved from yourself, and we'll see when that
Well,
comes together.
one thing that comes to my mind is something that Jake Hager said on our podcast, a few months ago, that
Right.
was controversial. It blew up. The internet took it and ran with it. But he had a good point, right? Like the one thing Jericho does is he takes those younger guys and carries them and like helps get them in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Whether or not they run with it or what they do with it is kind of up to them. But not that Big Bill's a younger undercard guy, but he is a relatively wasn't top card guy, and now he's
Right.
working with them. And same with, um, uh, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. The Bad Apple,
Yep.
Brian, whatever. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so it's interesting he says that. Now, whether he compared him to Sting and all, I won't go into all that. But if you're interested in that, you should go check out our podcast with Jake Hager. Great interview. We had a great
Yeah.
time. Hopefully, we'll see him again here eventually. But I digress. Next was Ricochet. Comes out, tremendous boos every time he goes to talk. He was getting the Dominic Mysterio treatment, boo.
The dirty
Uh,
time.
and I will admit, I may be dumb for this, but I didn't get the scissor attack when it happened. I'm like, what? Now that he's saying it, scissors beats paper, I'm like, oh my god, that's genius! Like, I love it.
Yeah.
And like the picture says 1,000 words, and he flashes up the bloody Swerve Strickland, and then of everybody, Nana hits him in the back with the chair, and we get their stare off. Excited for this program. What do you feel
Yeah.
about Ricochet's heel work and what direction he's going in? Because I know you were a fan of his all back to Prince Puma days,
I
and
mean, he
just
is
kind of
a
curious.
Lucha Underground alum, and he wasn't given much opportunity on the main roster to really develop much of a character. One of the storylines that he was in was when he was competing and chasing the NXT North American title, and he was competing against the Velveteen Dream,
Yeah,
and they would, they carried a good amount of dialogue. And I think, like someone was joking around, you're on TV once a week. You're not working on, your promo stuff. And I think now it's starting to get better. And like you said, he got the Dirty Dom, which gave him a little bit more time. He takes a deep breath, and then he starts in, and he's like, "Hey, a picture's worth 1,000 words," and the picture pops up, and you're like, "Dude." So I think, like, he didn't really need to say much after that, and I think it's going to be a really good program. Swerve is away from the world title for a little bit. You're elevating
Yep.
Ricochet. I think they're going to have some good, some good matches. I didn't realize how big Swerve had gotten. He's put on some
Swerve
serious
got swole.
muscle. Yeah. And so kudos to the booking. I think it's going to be really good.
That
And
match is going to be amazing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Rolling from that, we got
yeah,
the Mercedes Moné Media Tour. Good stuff. I love AEW getting out there and doing stuff. Um, just presenting AEW out there, the more places that people can see it, I
hmm
think means more eyes on the product, and I think that'll just help things in the long run
yeah,
go through and just help the product. So good for her. I'm glad. I know she's going to be in the Mandalorian movie. I think that's coming out, I think it's the Mandalorian movie, and she's got a lot of stuff going on. So keep, yeah, the just her presence being out there and everything is a good thing for the company.
yeah,
Um, The only thing it makes me think is who's going to dethrone her. But that again, I don't want to get us into a long conversation because we could spend a lot of time talking about Kenny Omega. We could spend a lot of time talking about the women's division and
yeah.
who can take that. But we're here to talk about Dynamite, Maximum Carnage. So
Maximum
next thing we had was
carnage.
the trios match with Mark Briscoe and Private Party versus the Hurt Syndicate. Right before it, we got a clip of MVP saying he is putting on the boots for the first time in 2 years or 3 years or whatever it was. I think it was 2.5 years.
Yeah,
And yeah, good on him. It looked good. What a,
yeah,
I don't want to say squash match because it wasn't complete squash, but I definitely see the Hurt Syndicate as winning the tag titles going forward because that
yeah,
match was dominated by Bobby Lashley and them. And I think I could see. I think the AEW tag team division needs a shock. Put a little shock collar on them and zap them to life a little bit. And I think the Hurt Syndicate could be the ones to do that.
yeah. Definitely, and the Hurt Syndicate having MVP over there, and not that Benjamin can't talk on the mic, and Lashley can't talk on the mic. And I look at Lashley as a world champion, so to see him in a tag team situation, I'm gonna have to. That's me. That's a me thing. I'm just gonna have to kind of get used to that, and that may just be in the interim, and then they'll work it around whether he ends up over on as the Ring of Honor World Champion or AEW World Champion. Um, but yeah, I thought it did a good piece of business. It shook up the tag team division, like you said, and it brought credibility to them as a team, as a unit, and it discredited the world tag team champions. But it's sort of just having Briscoe involved with that when he was just part of the conglomeration and he was just the Ring of Honor world champion, and now he's just like bouncing around with tag teams and has like a one-off singles match. If they could get him in a program, unless we're waiting for the Ring of Honor TV
Yeah.
deal to come to fruition, and now will he be the face of Ring of Honor? Maybe, maybe not. I think Jericho will hang on to the title just like he did for AEW to bring credibility to that title and, send them into a new, I don't want to say era because that's more of a WWE thing, but send them into their new TV deal
Right.
and, help elevate all the talent over on Ring of Honor. So, yeah, all in all, like you said, I thought it was a good piece of business, brought credibility to their team. Great to see MVP ballin'. And, they got a good trios win. So,
What was, and I don't know the status. What it is not Private Party in WWE. They were part of the Hurts, or the rumors were they're going to be the Hurt Syndicate. I can't. Montez Ford and his partner. I can't think of his name. I can't think of that tag team now.
Dawkins, the Street Profits.
Yeah, Street Profits. I don't know what their status is, but it'd be interesting to see if they, because when they started talking about the Hurt Syndicate coming, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Dawkins and them on TV in a while. Like, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
Angelo Dawkins on TV in a while. Like, what's their status? Are they going to show up? And then they made it, just regular Hurt Syndicate. I'm like, all right, well that's cool. But I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
it teased me a little bit. I thought about it. but I'm sure they're locked down.
Yeah,
Uh,
Montez Ford made a comment. Well, we can talk about that in another show, but yeah, just keep an eye out for Montez Ford and social media. So,
oh, okay. So the next thing we had, um, which was I guess controversial. I don't know how I felt about it yet. I'm probably gonna rewatch it. Was the Jeff Jarrett MJF talks?
yeah,
Um, War of the Worlds. They went back. There's a lot of low hanging fruit. You'll know what your wife's balls taste or my balls taste like in Kurt Angle's basically, and
you'll
all
be the
kinds of stuff
first
back and
man.
forth.
Yeah,
I just I, I don't know how I felt about it. I felt it was well, one, it was nowhere near one of best MJF's best promos. I felt it was
yeah,
very forced, if that makes sense. I felt
hmm
like it was, well, I'm going to say all the meanest things I can say. Now, I also know MJF, and I remember the Punk stuff, and I felt that way about the first promo with Punk, and then what
hmm
it turned into down the road. So we could be down that road, but I just felt like this was a very hit the low hanging fruits, say stuff that's going to make people go, "Oh my god, I can't believe he said that," and get people talking, which is exactly what it did.
yeah,
And then Jeff Jarrett came back with some of the same stuff. I did not appreciate Jeff Jarrett making the allegations about MJF's girlfriend, taking a train in the parking lot and all. I'm like, come
yeah.
on, dude. Like, I just, it set funky with me. I didn't like it, and I don't think we should ever degrade women in any way. I mean, if that's what she wants to do in the back and MJF's fine with, then let her, or vice versa, right? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know that that's what happened. Obviously, it probably didn't, but you know what I mean. Like, it just set the whole thing didn't set well with me, and I didn't like it. And I'll watch it back again just to see if I missed something. But as far as the kickoff to their feud, it didn't feel like it had a whole lot of gravitas to it. It felt more forced and like, let's say the most offensive things we can say to each other.
yeah. It seemed like at first MJF was trying to be respectful for the last Outlaw, and then Jarrett sort of started to elevate some of the comments, and then he was like, "Well, I've heard it my whole entire career." A little bit later on, you see Dustin talking about, you're the last outlaw, you're a 12-time world champion. Um, I could talk for hours about Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett and
Oh
everything that
yeah,
the Jarrett family did for professional wrestling. And I'm all about like blurring the lines between realism and, sort of the disbelief,
that's what makes a good
suspended belief.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, cool. You're going to talk about how Jarrett had a drinking problem, 20 something years ago. Okay, no problem. That worked with, some of the other, like the Hardys
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. Okay, good, good, good. But like you said, like I could see them touching on Karen Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett, having having been married to Angle and now they're together or whatever. But like you said, to talk about, what she was or wasn't doing in the parking lot. And then at the end, um, Karen Jarrett is not a talent, a ring talent. And, Jarrett to grab her and push her down like that. Um, I don't know what that has to do with the feud. So maybe I'm just being too sensitive and, the light will come on and they'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense, because now they're going to do some kind of a match where, now Jarrett or MJF have to go through some gauntlet match to get to one another because MJF likes to do, the
Yeah.
gauntlet matches and stuff. So, but yeah, all in all, kind of wonky. And I was glad when it was over because it seemed like it went on a little too long.
I was just gonna say it was
Oh,
like 15 minutes long,
yeah.
and I think they could have cut a lot short because there was some good stuff in it. Like
Yeah.
the lines of the lines MJF was using about like, I didn't have to create my own company to get on top. I just came here, and like that
Yeah.
was good stuff. And I think Jared had a couple back to MJF, and I'm like, that's the good stuff. Like to MJF when he said, you haven't run the roads, you haven't done all this. I'm like, that's good stuff. It's all
There it is. Yeah.
the the controversial bullshit they put in between it that I didn't like. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like I said, they'll go from there. Though it's a listening company. A&W is always listening to the fans, so we'll see what they
Oh,
do
yeah.
to course correct and adjust that.
Yeah.
Um, next. Oh, and on the Dustin thing, you mentioned it. Yeah, I love the Dustin thing. Talking to him, I love the fact that he was like, "Hey, these young guys haven't done that. They haven't gone through all that." I thought that was great.
We're the last of our
I thought,
kind. I was like,
yeah, I thought it
woo,
was really good stuff, man.
woo.
Yep.
I love me some the unnatural boy. I've that's one of my favorite shirts, and every character that he's been part of has just been gold dust, and yeah, so super cool, great to
we had to
see.
we had
Yeah,
to see if we can
so
reach out to some of our connections in the AEW and see if we can't get him on the show. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to our El Editor.
yeah,
Uh, that would be a great one for both of us because we're both huge fans. Um, but we can go over maybe on our tomorrow we'll be cutting a show where we're going to be talking about news in wrestling and you and I's opinion on it. If you've ever watched Pardon the Interruption, very much formatted like that. Editor will be on. T Dog, as I've now started to call him, and he'll be on there and hitting us with questions we don't know that's coming, and we'll have to give our answers. A lot of fun. The first one's up now, a little late because we were still adjusting the format and how we want to do it, but it is up now if you want to check it out. We're going to record a new one tomorrow. It'll go live on Saturday, the 18th, I think it'll be. So look out for that, where I'm sure we'll get questions about this MJF and Chris Jericho stuff and what the state of AEW is going to be.
yeah.
But moving on, we had Christian Cage versus Hook. Hook was getting his butt kicked, resilient, kept coming back. Um, it was a Hook. It was a quick match. Hook, they did what they did. The big part, I think, of the match, which was I think one of the pops of the night, was big old Samoa Joe returning at the end.
Dude,
Uh, so I wondered where they're going to go with it. So if you haven't seen it yet, Hook gets the win. Patriarchy jump in the ring to beat down Hook, and Taz looks like he's going to hit in the ring, but no, boom, Samoa Joe music hits. Good to see him back. Glad
yeah,
he's done recording all the stuff he recorded. I think he had a video game he was in and did a
yeah,
TV
Sweet
show.
Tooth or something.
Yeah, Sweet Tooth in that Twisted Metal season 2,
Yeah,
and he was a voice in some Yakuza game, I think. So
yeah.
great to see him back. Huge pop. Where do you see this going? Do you think we'll have a Patriarchy versus Hook, Shibata, and Samoa Joe at Grand Slam, and that'll be the end of it? Or what do you see is going to go on with that?
Yeah, they're going to have to reestablish Joe as a credible, credible force. I think he did a huge part of that last night, and could Hook somehow recruit his dad? His dad won't get back in the ring, because he just had knee
No.
replacement and all that. Maybe Taz is a little bit more involved. Maybe he's more of a hype man while he's on commentary. And yeah, there's a lot of meat on the bone. The Patriarchy, he is the reigning, defending, undisputed next AEW World Champion. He's got that. He's got that contract. So we'll see. We'll see. Good to see Hook get the win. I thought he broke his back when Christian pulled
Ooh, yeah.
the feet from out there, but man, there was nothing in that match that could have prepared me for the women's casino match, though, dude. Nothing.
Dude, we're talking the
Nothing.
first ever, never had one
Nothing.
before.
Nothing.
Let's only give it 15-minute women gauntlet match. I have mixed feelings about it. I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. I thought it was fun. But really, Tony, you're only going to give him 15 minutes? Come on, dude. You have one of the best female rosters out there. They could
Yeah.
do a women's gauntlet match that lasts the entire Dynamite, and it would be phenomenal. We didn't see hot talents in there. Like, we didn't get Nyla Rose didn't show up. We didn't see Athena could have been in it. You could have had
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Starks, Thunder Rosa, uh, Mariah May was she's a champion, but they did this huge package, and I understand that's the concept of the gauntlet, which I love. Fantastic, great concept. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
best new concepts in wrestling. The random intervals, which is genius for booking purposes. Like, hey, as soon as he hits this spot, hit the button. Like,
Yeah.
good stuff, right? But just a letdown. And none of that, like, who didn't see Tony Storm winning it coming right off the top because they're going to Australia and it's going to be a
Yeah.
Grand Slam? Like, so I was a little disappointed in that. But the work in the ring, all that aside, the women in the ring, the women in that match, the bumps they
Yeah.
took and what they did, phenomenal. I still say AEW has one of the best rosters. Granted, I haven't watched NXT, and you keep telling me to,
Oh man,
but I
dude.
think AEW's women roster, maybe not booked as good, is still one of the best rosters out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think there's so many talented women, and the match I wish would have gone a little bit longer, but we got what we got, and had a great debut for Bane. I've been watching her
Oh, I
on the
forgot about that
Indies
part. Yeah.
and NWA, so super excited for the possibilities over there, and the programs that she could do with Statlander, with Nyla
Yes.
Rose, keep her away, or maybe don't. Is she the one to um, defeat Mercedes Monet? That would be a shock win, but probably keep her
I think.
away just because of the brick house, the brick house comparison. So we'll
Yep.
see. But yeah, Tony's got an amazing roster over on the AEW side. Congratulations to Tony Storm. She's putting together one heck of a rookie year.
Rookie of the year, man. Seriously, making her debut in AEW,
Yeah.
and she absolutely
Yeah.
carried it. And
Yeah.
the match was the loudest of the night, I thought, personally.
Yeah.
The pop was huge. Um, and I also, uh, so two things. What happened to Camille? Like, she got the whole Mariah, you brought it up, and I'm curious now. Like, you brought that up. I'm like, yeah, where did she go? So maybe that shoulder injury she was selling is legit and she's out. I don't know for sure because, yes,
Yeah.
totally should go after Monet. But again, another topic for another show. Stick around. We'll talk about it someday.
Boom.
In the near future. Next thing is I loved Mariah May on commentary. I loved when Mega Bane came out. She goes, "Wait, I'm on Twitter. I didn't see her graphic. Great stuff. Like, she's not all elite. She shouldn't be here." Like, already kind of putting that "I'm afraid of this lady" out
Yeah.
there kind of thing, which is great. And I also loved her comment to Taz about rolling around. He's like, "Well, I'm married." She goes, "I mean, in the mat." I thought it was great. I thought she was perfect on commentary.
Yeah.
All right, well, that brings us to the main event, which was John Moxley and Powerhouse Hobbs. Woo! Wow, man. So did
Wow.
Moxley, like, is Moxley sick enough where he gigged his own ear? Like, what the hell, dude? So in the
Oof.
match, if you hadn't seen it, it's a
Yeah.
really good, hard hitting match. I think it's the match they really wanted to have about a year or two ago before he blew his knee out. And it
Oh
was
yeah,
in
that's
that
right.
match
Yeah.
with Moxley that he hurt his knee. But he bites his ear, and next you know, Moxley's gushing blood from his ear. Like, who bleeds from their ear like that? Yeah, it was, and I don't know if it was on the call, like on the fly call, because I wonder if maybe his earring legit got ripped out, and then he
Yeah.
told, because he's, if you pick stuff apart, you could see Mox kind of say something, and then he does the ear biting thing, and then the blood. I'm like, all right, maybe like it was legit injury. He's like, oh, cool, make this part of the
Yeah.
match or whatever. But
I'm in
overall,
my hometown,
really,
man, where
yeah, yeah, yeah,
CZW, where I cut my teeth, and
yeah.
Nick Cage took a pizza cutter and had it in his mouth, and I was just like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man,
Still one of the
good.
best cutaway commercials ever was when Nick Gage is doing the pizza cutter to Chris Jericho and they cut to a Domino's pizza commercial on Dynamite. Still a classic. Anyway, yeah, Blood Soaked War. I thought it was really good. Um, Referee stops it because Hobbs took a Psycho knee, took a Death Rider, and then ended up getting choked out with the Bulldog choke,
Yeah,
unconscious. So made Hobbs look really strong to the point where I almost thought Hobbs was going to win it at one point.
yeah,
And then in my head, I'm thinking logically it doesn't make sense, but cool. Like, that's a great way to push him,
yeah,
Uh, and then Moxley just continuing to have that faction issue. And then, Rated FTR comes out to make the save after the beatdown at the end. It is what it is. Like I said, I'm not big into the Rated FTR versus the Death Rider stuff. I would be much more into like Hobbs, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and Hangman Page being the four going after him or something.
yeah,
Which maybe that's what it'll be. Who knows? Maybe that's what it'll turn out. Maybe they'll go through FTR and then they're like, who's next? And Darby Allin is done climbing Mount Everest and makes his return.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, him coming back as one of the AEW originals. I think, Adam said, "I want the world titles." FTR gets the tag team titles, and then together we win the 6-man tag. the trios.
Yep.
And I think, him to come right back after breaking his leg in that match where, he was going as a TNT champion
Mm-hmm.
and not having to, climb the ladder as you would, say, all of a sudden he just shows up. Well, I'm Cope. And as Jericho would say, he's a dope. And
Cope.
what do you got to say about Wheeler? He's a kneeler.
Kneeler.
And, hey, I think I love the match. I think Hobbs, they need to put a rocket on this guy, put him in some smash matches. Maybe that's how you write Phoenix off. Maybe that's how you write Starks off. Maybe that's how you, unify another fringe team. Maybe
Yeah.
that's how you solidify Osprey and Omega. Now Osprey and Hobbs have a match, and Hobbs is just taking him to the woodshed, and Omega comes out as an EVP and says, hey, you got to just stop this. If you stop, I'll give you another shot at the world title. And then boom, bada bing, Hobbs is your new world champion.
And the thought of Hobbs versus Omega or Hobbs versus Osprey both are like very intriguing to me.
Yeah, styles make fights. So all in
Hobbs
all,
is good.
very good. All in all, like you said, I thought the crowd was awesome. They woke up for Omega, and then maybe it was a sound thing, and I was multitasking too, so that could be a me thing. But yeah, the women's gauntlet match, I thought it was phenomenal. The addition of Mariah May, Taz, just gold on commentary.
So glad he's back.
Yeah. 3 1/4 beards I threw at the Carnage.
Wow.
And
you still went higher than me. I went 3.
Really?
I had it right. I had it right up there with Raw.
Oh,
I thought it was good, but not that high. You mentioned Taz, man. I think that's one of the most underrated things in AEW personally is their commentary team. I absolutely love Taz, Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, Nigel when he's on, and just their banter back and forth. You can tell there's not an earpiece in there, that they're just cutting off the rip because some of the stuff they say, I'm like, what are you saying? And like they can pop each other. It's great. A lot of fun. I just enjoy their commentary team. I won't go into the Raw and, their new commentary team and how I feel about them. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. So 3 1/4, and I gave it with a 3. So I appreciate everybody listening. Want to thank, if you've noticed, if you're a longtime watcher, listener, and you're just joining us back, even though those last 2 shows are a little different, some fancy graphics, little pop-ups here and there. That's because we're looking more professional. We got an editor in the background, editor. You may know him from some of the Thunder Rosa podcast. He pops on there, and he's also been on our show a few times. I want to thank him. Huge shout out to him for helping us get on track, get back to the grind, helping us look a little more professional, as you would say. But I want to thank all y'all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Ask us questions. We'll answer it. I check it every day. If you want to reach out to us, noshavemancave@gmail.com. I think that's all I got to plug. We'll be doing our question and answer show tomorrow. That'll go out live on Saturday. And Saturday we'll cut a show with a review of the week on what we thought of wrestling. Hot tag, brother. Take us home.
Boom. There is so much wrestling going on, and we're just going to tease a little bit here and there. I like how JT was dropping some stuff. Hey, great stuff. There's all kinds of talk on who's going to buy what, who's showing up where, why are they behind the scenes. My Lanta, I cannot wait. Tomorrow, tomorrow we'll do our round robin. Saturday, our regular show. AEW, WWE, probably touch on some other stuff, and super jacked to be back in the studio. So thanks for checking us out here in the No Shave Man Cave, just like we always do to our brothers and sisters at arms. Keep doing what you do. Hurry up. Get your ass back home. To our first responders fighting that fire, please stay safe. And thanks for what you do. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you on the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies.